200 years ago, the evil Dire Wraiths threatened the peace-loving planet Galador. In their world's darkest hour, 1,000 brave young Galadorians sacrificed their humanity to become cyborg warriors. A final, desperate line of defense. Though hopelessly outnumbered, the Space Knights triumphed and pursued the remnants of the Wrath Horde across the universe. Now alone in the enemy's stronghold on the battleground called Earth, one Galadorian warrior faces his most daunting challenge. Stan Lee presents ROM, the greatest of the Space Knights. ROM, Volume 1, Issue 2, Second Coming. When mobster Archie Stryker planned this job, he thought it would be simple. Kidnap the manager of Laserum Corp, force him to open the triple lock vault, and take off with the money inside before the police arrive. No problems until a gun-metal gleaming nightmare crashed through the skylight as the monster screams. It's ROM. He and his gang wonder where this robot came from and what he wants. ROM replies, "I come seeking evil. I come to exact revenge." Thus, Lansing, West Virginia becomes the second town to experience the extraterrestrial terror of ROM. The mobsters wonder how ROM knew they were going to attack. Could he be working with the cops? They're certain they didn't trip any alarms, but ROM isn't there for the mobsters. He's looking for the Dire Wraiths. ROM announces, "Humans, stand your ground. If you are what you appear to be, you have nothing to fear from the energy analyzer." Bathed in the analyzer's unearthly glow, the Stryker gang recoils, confused and fearful. They don't understand what this strange light means, yet ROM's ray leaves the human gang unharmed, while it reveals the inhuman aspect of the cowering plant manager. The manager was a Dire Wraith in disguise. Unconcerned with the robber's activities, ROM focuses only on his target, the Dire Wraith, who is doomed unless he can turn the humans against ROM. In his disguised form, the Wraith cries out, "ROM's an alien murderer. He'll kill us all." As ROM advances, he doesn't understand why the humans protect one whose evil threatens their very earth. He forgets that only his cyborg eyes, aided by his analyzer, can reveal the Wraith's true form. When the criminals try to rush him, their bullets harmlessly bounce off ROM as he effortlessly swats them aside. In the distant past, possibly over 1 billion years ago, when the Skrulls were still in the early stage of development, the Celestials visited Skrullos and conducted experiments on selective natives. Through these experiments, they created 3 branches of Skrulls, the Eternal, Prime, and Deviant lineages. However, the Deviants turned on their cousin race and exterminated them. Some Skrulls began studying black magic and transformed into the Dire Wraiths. Fearing the power of the Wraiths, the Skrulls initiated another genocide against them. Outnumbered, the Wraiths fled from the Skrull space. During this period, some Wraiths were captured and experimented upon by the Kree, resulting in the creation of Wrath in humans, who then split off their kind. As ROM prepares to kill a Dire Wraith, the creature begs for mercy. ROM responds, "Show you mercy, then you showed the once proud Starfleet of Galador. Prepare Wrath to be banished." Suddenly, Stryker, showing sympathy for his fellow humans, grabs a laser cannon and fires at ROM. ROM reacts, "Perhaps my hybrid form of flesh and Space Knight armor can withstand this focused beam of light. Yet this is the first Earth weapon to cause me pain. It must be dealt with. The Wrath will have to wait." As the Space Knight slowly turns, the Dire Wraith calls an alarm to the police chief, who is disguised Wrath. Meanwhile, Archie Stryker challenges ROM's power, confident that the laser, which could cut through steel like butter, will stop him. But ROM continues advancing, sensing that this advanced technology is of Dire Wraith origin, not human. As ROM continues his mission to stop the Dire Wraiths, he rips the laser cannon in half. One of Stryker's henchmen shouts, "Run, let's get out of here." The men start to flee, but ROM ignores them, focus on pursuing the Dire Wraiths. Determined not to be distracted further, the Wraith locks himself inside the vault. However, ROM, the greatest of the Space Knights, has fought the Wraiths for too long to let a mere steel door stand in his way. Without hesitation, he tears it open and declares, "There's no place left on Earth for you to hide, Wrath." The Wrath responds defiantly, "You may succeed in eliminating me, ROM, but there are countless others who will take my place." ROM replies, "Then they too shall be dealt with, evil one." Meanwhile, Archie Stryker watches from a distance, tempted to escape. He mutters, "I can't hear what the robot and the guy we snatch are saying to each other, but I just can't leave a fellow human in the hands of that metallic dark monster. Despite being a criminal, Stryker feels a sense of loyalty to humanity, believing that ROM is here to harm humans. The Dire Wraiths sneers, "It's been over 2 centuries since you and your fellow Space Knights defeated us in a battle, ROM. We may have fled into space, but we haven't been idle. We've been preparing, building our strength, combining super science with dark magic to one day threaten your beloved peace-loving world of Galador once more." He continues, "For that purpose, I was instructed to develop Laserum Corp, manipulating humans to unknowingly build laser components for our massive Wrath transmission base. With this, we can attract our kind still roaming the space waves to Earth." As the Wrath speaks, he fires a blast directly at Rom's face, momentarily stunning him. The Rat taunts, "Yes, and that's only one of the many weapons we're created to deal with your kind, ROM. Soon we Wraths shall strike again, and not even the power of the Space Knights will be able to stop us." But ROM quickly summons his neutralizer from subspace, raising it as he banishes the shrieking Wrath to limbo. The Wrath, shifting into its true monstrous form just before vanishing, manages to strike a control button. With the push of countless laser displays in the showroom activated, filling the room with intense, coherent light beams, the rays sizzle through the air, hitting ROM's armor with staggering force. ROM's mission is complete as he breaks through the roof of the building, which is now ablaze. Meanwhile, the Stryker gang is arrested by the police. Archer Stryker, watching the scene, insists, "We didn't torch the place. ROM did, and he killed a human being. That poor manager." Haunted, he adds, "Lord, as long as I live, I'll never forget that poor man's scream as ROM fried him with some kind of death ray. I'd do anything to stop that monster from killing another human being. Anything." Nearby, one of the Dire Wraiths, disguised among the crowd, observes and thinks, "Perhaps you'll get your chance, Archie Stryker. Once I inform the others, every superhuman and villain has a reason for their actions. And for Archie, his reason is his belief that ROM incinerated an innocent human." The next morning, dawn rises over Claritin, a quiet suburban community 20 miles from Lansing, West Virginia. Brandy's boyfriend, Steve Jackson, visits her, worried after recent events. A doctor suggests she's in mild shock, but Brandy Clark knows what she saw, and nothing the doctor says will change that. As Brandy seeks support from her boyfriend, Steve, she tells him, "This isn't shock, Steve." Steve tries to be supportive, but he admits, "ROM, my flesh crawls every time I think of that gleaming metal horror. I still remember how he appeared in the middle of Claritin, his red eyes blazing like coals. The townspeople panic at the sight of him. And then, when he wiped out that death ray of his, he fried Mike Collins and Perry Skykes where they stood. It was like a nightmare. And as the rest of us fled, the massive metal monster swept you off your feet and carried you away screaming into the night. Thank heaven the National Guard arrived in time to save you." Brandy responds, "To save me? Is that what you think? Well, you're wrong. All of you are wrong. ROM doesn't mean any harm. He came here to save us from the evil aliens called Dire Wraiths. They're here disguised, living among us like ordinary humans. I'm telling you, it's true. ROM told me how the Wraiths tried to destroy his world, and they would have succeeded if it hadn't been for him and the Space Knights." Brandy runs out, upset that people think she's out of her mind. She thinks to herself, ROM is not a monster. He's a tortured, tormented man. Brandy and Steve have been together for a long time, so she feels hurt that even Steve and her parents don't believe her. Steve sees ROM as a cold-blooded monster and murderer, and he wants Brandy to get some rest, though their connection is still strong. At home, Brandy speaks to her dog, Tempest, reassuring him, "I'm not delusional. I believe the word of a creature from another world." Unbeknownst to her, ROM is hiding in the gazebo, silently observing. ROM steps out of the gazebo, and for long seconds, Brandy is speechless, doubting her own sanity. Though her mind tells her this is madness, her heart urges her to trust the golden, gleaming figure before her, and she listens. ROM stands silently. It has been 2 centuries since he ceased to be human, yet he remembers what it feels like to hold someone in his arms. When he finally speaks, his words reveal nothing of his deeper thoughts. "I have returned because your world is so new to me, so strange. I need information," ROM says. Brandy feels a pang of hurt. Had she thought he came back for more than that? ROM continues, "I tracked a Dire Wraith to its lair, but I tried to banish it to limbo. A human criminal showed misguided valor, attempting to save the Wrath from my vengeance." Brandy explains, "He probably thought you were killing a fellow human being, ROM. It sounds insane, but I saw the weapon the Wraiths tried to destroy you with. The nightmare is real. The Wraiths are power on Earth, but how can we help you fight a foe we can't even recognize? Just then, Steve appears shocked. He can't believe Brandy is actually talking to what he considers a monstrous killer. Meanwhile, over the skies of Washington, D.C., a raven circles and then dives towards its destination. A bay door in the roof of a military intelligence known as Safeguard opens to receive it. Silently, the raven wings through deserted corridors, gliding past illuminated directories above various doorways. Finally, it veers through a specific entrance and arrives at its intended destination. This raven is no ordinary bird. It is, in fact, a Dire Wraith who then transforms into her human form. All the other people in the room are also Dire Wraiths. In her human disguise, she is known as Clara Knowles, a switchboard operator for the village of Clariton, West Virginia. She has witnessed the arrival of the deadliest threat on Earth, ROM. One of the Dire Wraiths, disguised as a high-level SHIELD officer, another as a senator, listens as Clara reports. ROM saw through our human disguises and banished 5 of our people. I sounded the alarm and after transforming flew her here to bring you the news immediately. The other Dire Wraiths realize they must act quickly. As they strategize, their collective aim is clear. They intend to manipulate humans utilizing advanced technology and the potent mix of super science and dark magic, all with a single purpose: the complete and utter destruction of ROM, the greatest of the Space Knights. The Dire Wraiths' goal is shared unknowingly by Steve Jackson, who at the moment in Clariton insists Brandy run to the house, claiming he's protecting her from this monster. Since learning English, ROM has often heard the word monster applied to himself, a term he deeply disliked. Though he can't believe Brandy would choose anyone but one of her own kind as a companion, he summons his energy analyzer determined to verify if Steve is in fact a Dire Wraith. Steve, meanwhile, believes ROM is about to kill him, prompting Brandy to scream, "Steve, run! He means you no harm." ROM could respond to reassure the frightened woman, but he remains silent, allowing her to believe whatever she wishes. He activates the analyzer, concealing a pang of jealousy, only to confirm that Steve is not a Dire Wraith. ROM then says its purpose is solely to reveal Dire Wraiths, whatever their disguise. I even used it during our first encounter. I'm sorry. As the police officers approach, beginning to surround ROM, as Brandy's parents, terrified, scream, "Monster!" at ROM, he appears the painful words from those he has come to protect. Brandy insists to Steve that she has to stop the police, believing they're making a terrible mistake. Steve, however, thinks ROM is a killer who has somehow manipulated Brandy, and he vows he won't get away with it. ROM, seeing the distress he's caused, says to Brandy, "I do not wish to bring violence to your home. I will leave." Meanwhile, in a police car nearby, a disguised Dire Wraith explains to a confused Archie Stryker that he feared more Space Knights might be on Earth. Stryker, beginning to understand that ROM might not be alone, realizes there could be others like him, but remains under the Dire Wraith's deceptive influence. As ROM raises his hand in open palm, universal gesture of peace, the Dire Wraith, disguised as the police chief, commands the officers to shoot to kill. ROM says there's no need for hostilities between us, humans. I come to you in this hour of great danger. But the officers don't listen. They open fire. Steve pulls Brandy back to shield her from the ricocheting bullets, while ROM feels the senseless violence around him. In the chaos tempest, Brandy's dog is tragically caught in the line of fire. ROM, observing the lifeless form on the grass, mourns. Its life drains out, an innocent victim of the Dire Wraith's presence on Earth. Resolute, he reflects, I can only hope I'll end this conflict before Earth is ravaged as Galvador once was. But I do not bring this war here. The Dire Wraiths did, and I vow they will pay for every innocent life I lost because of them. He is ROM, the greatest of the Space Knights, and he stands. Grief mingles with fierce determination. Though ROM won glory in his centuries-old war against the Dire Wraiths in distant space, it came at a great cost. He lost his world and his humanity, possessing power beyond measure. He lifts the gazebo and hurls it into a police car. But in exchange for this power, he had abandoned a life of peace, condemned to exist within a biomechanical cyborg form. Rom despises what he has become, yet he despises even more the creatures who forced his transformation upon him. He is determined not to rest until the universe is cleansed of the Dire Wraiths. The Dire Wraiths posing as police officers, the officers to use a specialized bazooka. The blast, clearly powered by Wrath technology, strikes Rome, and for the first time he feels genuine pain. Rome dodges the second blast, soaring into the air before landing directly on top of the bazooka blaster. This is clearly a Wrath weapon. He thinks no human could conceive a device so perfectly attuned to disrupt my circuitry. Watching from a distance, Brandy feels a surge of concern for Rom. Despite his alien nature, she doesn't want to see him hurt. Rom, injured by the cannon, faces another attack as the Dire Wraith police chief activates a new weapon. Chief Rogers' patrol car siren wails with an unnatural piercing shriek that rattle even Rom's cybernetic senses. The sonic assault is shattering, and Brandy, watching nearby, screams in desperation, urging someone to help Rom. Steve, however, is baffled, wondering why Randy would care whether the alien monster lives or dies. Randy understands all too well Rom is the only one standing between Earth's freedom and the diabolical rule of the Dire Wraiths. Summoning his strength, Rom launches himself into the police car, knocking out the wailing siren. He lists the vehicle and declares, "You will go nowhere, Wrath, unless it is to Limbo. I know you for what you are, despite your human disguise, and the energy analyzer shall prove it." Blinded by the light from Rom's energy analyzer, Archie Stryker shielded his eyes with his mangled hand and screamed in terror. However, the eerie glow of the analyzer wasn't meant to kill, but to reveal, and reveal it did. The chief police commissioner was a Dire Wraith. Rome opened the door, threw Archie Stryker out, and said, "Go, human. You have no place in this conflict." Archie, confused, thought Rome spared him because he wasn't worth killing. Rom, however, wasn't concerned with humans like Stryker. His focus remained solely on the Dire Wraith. As the Dire Wraith tried to bark and reveal the location of the others, Rom was unmoved. He made no deals with these creatures who had caused so much harm. With a powerful motion, Rom threw the commissioner into the air, exclaiming, "Banished." The Dire Wraith was exiled to another dimension, neither world, where it could do no more harm. Rom summoned a neutralizer from a subspace and sent the Dire Wraith to Limbo. As the Dire Wraith police chief commissioner is banished to Limbo, Brandy's family believes they have killed him. Brandy pleads, "Rom, tell them it was a Dire Wraith, an alien, impersonating Police Chief Rogers." Rom begins to speak but hesitates. He already feels the weight of the unnecessary grief his actions have caused Brandy, the woman he has come to care for. He knows that he cannot bring her any more sorrow. His connection with her must end here. A brief interlude in an endless war, a war where he can afford neither friendship nor love. As he prepares to leave, he tells himself that it's better this way. Meanwhile, Steve, Brandy's boyfriend, says the robot done his murderous work and now he's leaving. The best thing we can do is forget this nightmare. But Archie Stryker, determined and bitter, responds, "There can be no forgetting. The robot killed two human beings and I couldn't do anything to stop it. If it takes the rest of my worthless life, I swear I'm going to hunt down and destroy the alien called Rom." Next issue, like the raging comet in the night, he comes. Firefall. ROM Volume 1, Issue 3.